Once you watch this video, you're feeling it to want to go. I guess we're leaving Neverland, so let's get on with the show. MJ plays a skeleton, and he plays the mayor too. In an Eddie Murphy white face suit. Oh, folks, I'm telling you, you know it's bad. It's bad. It's pretty fucking bad. Oh, it's bad. Let's all dunk on it. It's Stephen King and Stan Winston's 40-minute music video goes so bad. Hi, Abe and listener. Welcome.
Hello. Congratulations.
He does it
on that gold record, Michael.
Another one.
Another one.
Dude. The ha's.
Holy
so long
Jesus.
and loud and strong. Barbaric.
Michael Jackson's Ghosts.
That's right. This is Kings of King. That's Abe Epperson. I'm Michael Swain. We're covering all forms of video adaptations of Stephen King, the works of Stephen King, or things that he worked on. And this counts. If you will kindly look on Wikipedia, it says based on Stephen King both co-wrote the screenplay for this, such as it is, and it's based on a story by himself and another author. So I guess we're allowed, but I saw this as a little kid on Laserdisc, I now remember, because my dad showed it to me. But we are covering 1996's 40-minute extended music video, which was something Michael Jackson used to do. Our younger listeners may not know. Ghosts.
Yeah. Outpaced Thriller for the longest music video ever, and has since been outpaced by, I don't know, people who, challenge Guinness Book World Records for the fun of it, and just made like a 8-day music video. I looked it up. But I think as far as like popular music video, this goes on top in terms of if you care about the length of the thing. Yeah.
Lemonade kind of feels more epic, but I guess each individual song, like you couldn't count the whole album. Bjork has video projects, but you couldn't count the whole album, etc. So yeah, I guess. Although I still think this cheats Ghosts in the sense that it has three distinct songs in it with 3 sets of lyrics that are all different. They're considered separate songs.
Continuous, so it does feel like it's a
Lemonade
medley.
Is longer.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it's not. That's the point. Maybe it's not.
But we'll tell you what it is in our first segment, where we synopsize what we've seen. Don't even try to make sense of it yet. It's just a register of what happened in Under the Dome.
Our best guess puts the dome at 20,000 feet, sir.
Did he just call it a dome?
You think we might be stuck in here a while?
I'm going to do it every segment. Every segment, too.
For your information, he does the scream that controls the ghosts, and he doesn't. And it's like this, I don't know, barbaric yelp.
Yeah, it's originally, I think, became famous at the end of, I think it's Bad, but I could be wrong. But at the end of one of his hugest hits, the music video version, there's a solid minute or something, at least that's how long it is in my memory, of him like jumping on cars, grabbing his crotch and screaming "ha" so loud that all the windows break and shit. And it's like a power, like, I cannot be contained. Ha, fear my cock.
My song, my dance will not be restrained by this corporal world.
And although
so I have to become a ghost.
I remember thinking it was odd to be at the end of a music video of like a pop song. I thought people liked it at the time and thought it was interesting. And clearly he took that to heart because he does it like 35 times in this, a decade later. All right. You want to kick the synopsis off, Abe?
I'd love to.
Please
Lightning
do.
crashes. An old mother cries. Just kidding. A crow lands on a sign that displays "Welcome to Normal Valley," full of, quote, nice, regular people.
You fucking robots.
And then we immediately cut to the people, and it's almost like a Simpsons joke. And I feel like this is Steven's little addition. They have torches in their hand as they walk towards a house with another sign that says "Somewhere Else."
Torches and pitchforks, even though they're dressed as modern, it's modern.
Right.
Day.
It's kind of, it's very, everything about this is PG. So don't imagine the most horror version of it. But it definitely is going for those. Like, it wants to be scary. So the congregation is a bunch of just random townsfolk, mostly children and parents, that the haunted mansion in front of them, they think, is just full of bunch of ghosts. So they're nothing more. It's just a bunch of ghosts. We're going to go in there, which is kind of already like, that's a weird opinion. But anyway.
Let's get the town together and go in there, yeah.
Yeah, go in there and get rid of the ghosts, I guess.
Well, the mayor is leading the... Yeah.
And the mayor, played by Michael Jackson, is leading them, and he's like the truest. He's the vocalization of the chorus for the most part, though the chorus splits later. The door slams behind them, and basically it's a parody of any generic haunted house story. They arrive in a large receiving room, I guess, and they find a masked cloaked figure. Instead, it's kind of like a riff on the Phantom of the Opera mask, but he's holding a skull mask, and it's MJ. And he asks, "Did I scare you?" And some of the kids were scared. It cuts to reaction shots, and they're like, yeah, I was scared. But the mayor says plainly, "You did not scare me." So I guess MJ will have to try harder. That is how he interprets that information. He's like, "Oh, I didn't scare you? Well, gotta scare you, so..." But the mayor stops him, and before he does his initial scare, he says, "We want you out of town. It's nice and normal town," he says, "and you are not." And he says, quote, "Aren't you ashamed? Young people are impressionable," they say. "You are strange, and I don't like you," the mayor says. MJ insists that scaring people is, just for fun. It's just a thing that we can all do. And sometimes you can take it too far, but like, it's mostly just for fun. And MJ realizes that the mayor is trying to scare him. Like, he uses a nice little logical beat where he goes like, "I see what you're doing. You're trying to scare me. So now we have a scare off," which is a total logical thing to do, right? So they want him out of town. And then MJ rips off his own face off. And that's his like opening move. Oh, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good move if you're trying to like, all right, scare off. Let me rip my own face off.
Just a skull.
And the crowd runs away. And then he summons his family, which is a handful of apparitions from like, I don't know, like Mozart times, like Elizabethan times.
Yeah, but it's dusty and cobweb and zombie-ish. They seem like they just recorded Backstreet's Back All Right and like covered them in dust and moved them over to the set, basically.
And it's very clear that he, with the huge hit that Thriller was, he wants you to think, remember Thriller, and that's how this works. So yeah, this lays the foundation for the first basic music video sequence the rest of the movie kind of takes place in. It starts with basically the first song is Too Bad. These are all songs that are off of either History or Blood on the Dance Floor, I believe. And the intro for Too Bad is pretty insane. Like, he has to get his zombie family in line, and he takes like perhaps 3 minutes of time on screen preparing for the song. Like, and that to me is like the height of Michael Jackson's confidence. It's like the whole section is 9 minutes of the 40 minutes where he's basically just going, "All right, we're about to begin. Let's go." And he like clicks and calls for their attention and stuff. There's an interlude after the song where the ghosts walk on the walls and jump off columns and look at all the kids.
Dance on the ceiling. Yeah.
Dance on the scene, all seemingly at the beck and call of MJ. Ha! Where he just yells at them. And the children love it. The parents and the mayor are aghast, and it all ends with the ghost descending from the ceiling in a Christ pose back to the ground with angelic music under it. Then Michael Jackson puts his mask back on and turns into a full CGI skeleton. And this starts the next song, which MJ performs.
With eyeballs, though, in the sockets.
With eyeballs, yeah. CGI and also eyeballs. Dance shoes, little dance shoes, which is great.
But not one glove, which would have been a funny touch.
Right. And this song is It Scary? And he's got, so he approaches and he grabs the mayor during the dance sequence. And he teleports to the back of the room and screams again, as you'd expect. And the ghosts try to do little flybys to scare the mayor in particular. Like, they're really focusing on the mayor, and the zombies drop to the ground and like freak out, which I loved. I don't really know how to describe what they were doing or how they think it's scary, but they were just like kind of having conniption fits. But it's interpretive dance. It's mainly stomps. I mean, if zombies were a band, it'd probably be stomp stuff,
It's monster shit.
Right. And then we get to the next song, and the kids at this point are loving it. Like after 6 minutes of being a skeleton, Michael Jackson turns into a large demon-faced man, and he goes into the mouth of the mayor. Like he controls him, possesses him for the final dance. Finally, and that happens. He's like in a fat suit and crazy makeup, which we'll get into. He does this whole elaborate dance, and this is supposed to be like the headline of the whole thing.
And now the parents are into it too. They think
now the
this
parents,
is pretty fun and
so
funny.
Mayor is the only
Scary
holdout,
fun.
but he just needed to be possessed.
Yeah, it's
in order
spooky,
to
but it
understand.
ain't hurt no one. Yeah,
right. So finally, the mayor does take control over his own body, and he yells "stop," and the ghosts return to their fires and run away and such. And then MJ bursts from the mayor's chest, or I guess in the form of a hand, holding a mirror, showing the mayor his own image, which at this point has become corrupted and demon-like.
Yeah.
And this enrages the mayor, who he sees himself transforming into some kind of demon. And so then he does a little Smeagol. He talks his two personalities in one body. This is all MJ, baby. And it culminates in the question, who's the freak now? And then MJ just like pisses out of the mayor's mouth. And then he returns
to the
in
kids. It's pretty grim now.
Yeah.
You mean he emerges. Yeah.
He emerges. So Michael Jackson now is in full body. He's returned to his normal, white shirt, black pants kind of look. And he takes a bow, thinking he has successfully outscared the mayor. And MJ asks, "You still want me to go?" And the kids shake their heads. But the mayor still screams, "Yes." MJ then agrees. And he says, "Okay, I'll go." And then he slams himself onto the floor. And he turns into dust.
Like
and then
Willy Wonka might.
Right. Angelic choir music returns, and select children look on with sadness as he blows away in the wind. In the final kind of moments as the mayor tries to...
This is good.
What?
This is good.
As the mayor tries to leave the townspeople home from the mansion, MJ now talking as the appearance of a double door, like a giant double door sized
basically
face.
He opens the double doors, and a double door sized Michael Jackson head is blocking the way.
Yeah, so he didn't really die.
Yeah, he's like a zombie now.
And of course,
it
the scariest thing you could do,
fucking of course.
He screams, "Hello," which I love.
Yeah, hello.
And the mayor is terrified. I guess the scaring isn't done.
Yeah.
And the mayor runs away from the group. And out the window, like fucking Wile E. Coyote, leaves an imprint of his body shape like a coward.
This is true.
And MJ stands triumphant, and everyone agrees that they were very scared when he asks them. And he asks, and then Mos Def is there. Mos Def is there. Everyone gather around.
Is he the
Mos
one that
Def
says,
is there.
"Oh damn"? Like, who was he?
Yeah, I don't know. He's credited as like Dante, but I don't think
all
that's
the parents had random names.
like it's not like we ever get a name.
And then there's a punch, which is the little kid, one of the kids in the audience.
Right.
You've been noticing, like freckle-faced kid reaches up to his face as if he's gonna rip his face off in MJ style, and goes, "Hey everyone, like, did I do it? Is this scary?" And then you cut to the exterior and everyone screams. The end. So the fun is infectious, just like this pod.
Just like this pod.
And COVID.
And COVID.
Speaking
that's
of,
under the dome, baby.
Speaking of, Speaking of grim reminders that we are all of us mortal, let's rip off our own faces and rest of flesh for the next segment, where we talk about any pertinent facts about the nuts and bolts of the creation of the film that we think will come to bear in the discussion. It's called Skeleton Crew.
something in the mist! Shut the doors! Shut the doors!
Oh yeah, I forgot. Okay.
Okay.
It's like trivia and cast and crew. I actually forgot to look at the IMDb trivia page. Is it rich and hilarious?
No, it's not.
Okay,
It actually,
I thought it might not be.
There's not a ton known about the actual, like, I mean, they have in the credits sequence is video of like behind the scenes, but there's not a ton. It was a short shoot. It's like a music video shoot, exactly what you expect. But obviously the big names here are Stanley Winston. We got Stanley, the man, Winston.
Yep.
Directing, and I think he's got a writing credit on it too.
Writers are Stan Winston, Mick Garris, and Stephen King, based on a short story by Mick Garris and Stephen King. And of course, Michael Jackson, credited as playing the Maestro, the Mayor Ghoul, the Super Ghoul, a skeleton, and Self.
Yeah, that's weird. I didn't know that they separated Maestro as himself.
Isn't he Maestro the whole time? When is he Self?
I think maybe he's only himself when he dies.
I
don't really know.
Michael Jackson. Yeah, maybe with the dust.
Or like I don't know what the headcanon is here. I'll be honest.
But
did you notice? Did you notice? I have a question for you because you didn't look it up. You know what the director of photography, the DP, did the following year? This is 96, so 97 is the year I'm talking about. He won the Academy Award for Titanic.
Wow.
Russell Carpenter DP'd this.
And they all
clapped. And it looks fine.
Well, Michael Jackson, so I want to give some clarification recaps, if I may, real quick, just for people who might not know, but I'll keep it real quick because most people know. Michael Jackson, of course, famously the king of pop, probably still known by most people, even our younger listeners. Certainly you've heard his songs. But to touch on the various controversies, started with the Jackson 5, so very, very young. He was the youngest one, was already a famous pop star, ton of hit songs, then split off. Many of them had solo careers. Michael had the biggest one. Movies, blah, 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 everything. Got a lot of plastic surgery. Claimed to be whitening his skin because he had vitiligo, but rumors were that he was just whitening his skin and getting lots of plastic surgery to assimilate to some kind of whiteness or to make himself look more like Peter Pan or something, or some theories. He lived in like a fanciful carnival that he built called Neverland Ranch and always hung out with children there. And then there were long-running allegations that he was having sex with some of the children. Some of his celebrity child friends stood up for him and said, no, that never happened. There was recently a big documentary where other victims said, no, that definitely happened, full on like sexual abuse and stuff. And then he died, and there was even more controversy about that because it was based on medications that a shady doctor was giving him. So like a crazy troubled life, but you certainly know his music. And then I also want to mention Stan Winston, famous not for writing or directing, but just in case you don't know the name off the top of your head, famous for creature effects and animatronic effects and things that are like deeply embedded in our childhood collective consciousnesses. If you're our age, Abe, can you name some Stan Winston builds off the top of your head?
Yeah, like Stan Winston is probably most famous for, I mean, like Jurassic Park's right there.
Right.
He worked with James Cameron for a long time, so like he really jumped onto the scene with Terminator 2.
Right.
Aliens, actually, I forget that Aliens was before that in the 80s. Batman Returns is there, but yeah, he worked with Steven Spielberg for Jurassic Park.
Is there.
But yeah, like
faded Andy Kaufman movie. But I also all the
basically
way
the puppet man.
Sorry.
No, that's it.
I wanted to mention, Shutter Island, Galaxy Quest, because he became a legend and everyone used him. The Thing, Small Soldiers, Congo. I wanted to go didn't he? But he started in 1946, so he's like he made everything that moved until CG was invented, basically, or inspired it. Like the lion's share of stuff you've seen that moved around. It's crazy. His fucking Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, pertinent to our weekend, but I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to say about Michael Jackson, Stan Winston. I'll note that I dug into Mick Garris because I like short genre fiction a lot. He's a prolific horror writer of horror movies that I find mid or like fine, but a lot of them. So he's like a workhorse, just horror guy. They probably brought in for credibility, I would imagine.
Right.
And the on-camera credits are story by Stephen King, Stan Winston, Mick Garris, and Michael Jackson, which I like to think means, especially when you get into, which we will, how personal it seems to MJ's tastes and like what's going on in 1996 for him. And clearly the appeal of Stan Winston wanting to try out some effects he wanted to try out. I'm like, there had to be a meeting of all four of them. I just want to imagine Michael Jackson being like, I want this to happen and this to happen. And Stephen King being like,
okay,
that sounds good. Maybe they could have torches and shit in the first scene. And he's like, that sounds good. And like, there's no way it was more than that. Like more complex than that.
No.
Yeah.
That's good.
But to
Sounds
hear,
good.
Yeah, Stephen King and Michael Jackson shooting the shit. Oh my God. That's all I have for Skeleton Crew.
No, that's all that's really necessary.
Yeah.
This is obviously
I'm sorry. One more thing. I just wanted to note that this is like the weirdest, one of the last most bloated versions of this, but he did also pioneer in the music video space a lot, famously, and he did do these long music videos before, and some of them are considered like masterpieces of pop, like Doesn't Matter If You're Black or White is actually good, and this is like one of those after he's gone mad with power. But he was doing these even before this one.
Yeah, it was like to him continuation of like how his vibe.
Yeah.
And as we'll kind
what a vibe it is.
Right. And I think we should move on to the next segment so we can talk about the real stuff. And this one is where we talk about, I don't know, theme, symbolism, maybe a little bit of history or context in which to watch the film Michael Jackson's Ghosts, the 40-minute music video. This is what we call it.
Bill, if you'll come with me, you'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too.
Ha. Yeah, sorry about the video thing, but I just want people to be able to find it. We were briefly worried it would be scrubbed from the internet, but of course, no.
Right.
It's around.
Right.
Okay.
So
yeah, go ahead.
1993 is when the child sex abuse accusations against Michael Jackson happened for the first time.
Yeah.
And it was lobbed by Evan Chandler, who is a screenwriter, and his son Jordan were saying that Jackson had molested Jordan during a certain time that he was hanging out with him. Now, that is in the zeitgeist. He was like, none of the charges came up. He was found not guilty. But the People v. Jackson kind of trial was, a pretty big deal. And in 1993, this obviously shook, regardless of the verdict, what Michael Jackson was dealing with in terms of his own popularity. So this is kind of a response to that. Obviously, the metaphors are not that steep in order to, gather exactly what he's trying to say here. What did you think about that, Michael? The big question I want to lob at you is that MJ chooses to play in this movie both a version of himself, who is like a pariah, his legion, a bunch of dancers, and his would-be executioner. And I want to talk a little bit maybe about the psychology of that, or like just the fact that this was displayed loudly back to the zeitgeist that was unsure of exactly how to feel about Michael Jackson.
Wait, are you saying he played all the dancers? I didn't think that.
He didn't play all the dancers, but he played all of like the
he
played the zombie captain kind of deal.
Yeah. Famous for inventing, of course, also the moonwalk and being an incredible dancer as well as music producer, singer, songwriter, and star of video. That's what I want to get across. We were reminded this weekend as well because there was an arcade cabinet at the place we stayed. This person was so famous that there was like an arcade game called Moonwalker. It would be like if you had a Beyonce video game where she shot lasers. it's crazy how marketable the dude became. Yeah. So it was a huge fall from grace. And of course, about like one of the grimmest, most disturbing things possible. So boy, what a news story. And then he once also hung his baby over a balcony, and his baby's name is Blanket. This is all the stuff you need to know to get Michael Jackson's vibe.
You're dialed in.
Yes, I think. So a couple things on what you asked. One, recently there's been some episodes of some reality show, but I think it's more, people are more aware that there's a subculture of people who like try to be Peter Pan and are interested in making themselves like Peter Pan. And I gotta say, after like processing all this information, especially after seeing Ghosts, like where I'm resting right now is, I think he was trying to assimilate over the course of his life. I think he was trying to be Peter Pan. I think he got so much attention when he was young that he thought somehow he needed to stay young. He needs approval. He cared about his image. And I imagine, and like, I believe after the Leaving Neverland doc, acted out his own sexual trauma on other victims. So complex and kind of in my life, given just I don't know, maybe there's like the Pointer Sisters were also really fucked up, but almost the prototypical, like if I was writing a screenplay like Citizen Kane, I don't think I could write as staggeringly interesting or like it's like the child star archetype, like how child star can ruin you on the grandest scale. And he like, as he aged, and he stayed good at making pop music the whole time, which is like, we can talk about, but it's almost neither here nor there. He became like this weird crystalline insectoid man that like lived in a castle far away. He's just such an interesting figure. And I have to say, this thing almost seals the deal for me that he molested those kids, if not before. This is almost as incriminating as the victim testimonials. And I think that's what you were getting at. Because basically, the scenes with the mayor and I think the dude also, of course, was deeply sad and self-hating. Because the way the mayor says the word freak. And like... And he also, towards the end of his career, did songs like Leave Me Alone. And we'll get into the lyrics of these songs. But this thing is over the top to where it's comical and tragic. Defensive projection where it's like, I have kid friends. I don't scare kids. Kids like that I actually,
so
even
fuck
more,
off.
The things that I do to kids, they like it. Okay? So fuck off. And you pay children to be there and smile and nod. And it's like trying to flip it to, you guys just think I'm weird. It's just a smear campaign because I'm odd. You're persecuting otherness. But as we mentioned, but we have to dig into, it gets to the point where he makes meaningful eye contact with the mayor, and then like holy music happens, and there are soul shots, like crane shots that represent the soul leaving the body, or like awe of people in awe as the dancers assume the position of Christ on the cross and float down. And it's like he's saying like, you think I'm a freak, but I'm actually Jesus. It's like I sacrificed to give you this great music. I'm the special one. I share you my gift. I give you everything. After I die and turn to dust, my music and dance will still matter. My skeleton you'll fight over. As he's like in the Leave Me Alone music video, he makes an analogy to the fact that his skeleton will be fought over. And I do think it's symbolic of like this love-hate thing that he must have felt of like, I'm worthless and disgusting unless I get all the validation. But at the same time, how dare you people judge me? I'm a fucking untouchable genius. And both are kind of true. It's
so obvious that it was his idea for
everything in it is his idea.
For the I mean, he was huge. His like the finale of the movie really stems from showing the mayor, and this is him saying, people who accuse me, look in the mirror. You're actually the freaks.
Which is often a defense, I think, which the human mind takes is other people are just as bad. Secretly, they're all doing shit like this.
But
lyrics
you
in
can't
that
help.
portion when he's looking in the mirror, the lyrics include, I think the evil is you. I think the evil is you. So like, it's transparent as hell. Like it couldn't be more.
But it's
like the
also-
screenplay from Adaptation that the dumb brothers, right?
Exactly. Because it's also almost satire, just given the fact that, you know, it is you, MJ, though. Like it is
It
you.
is you. You're playing your own inner critic. Yeah.
You didn't have to play your own inner critic, but you chose to.
And by doing it, it's good makeup. It's like it's camouflage. Like I didn't know that the mayor was Michael Jackson at first
For a little bit.
until he danced in the suit, and I realized, oh, it has to be him based on like the dance skill. But it's literally like he's like, look, I could be normal. I could be white to the point that you don't even know it's me. I could be anything. Like
I
what
could
do you
own
want from
Stan
me?
Winston and make him do this to me every day.
That's right. Yeah. Like you outcast, you try to outcast me, but I am inside you. I possess you. Like, and he's right in the sense
bones.
that the art that he made became culture for a period of the 80s, 90s. Like, I am conformity. He set a template that pop stars are still following to some degree. Like, look at the sales. How can you call me abnormal? All culture right now descends from me. And so, therefore, I can do anything and I can do no wrong, right? Is also kind of the shadow implication of that. Like, my music is the sacrifice. It's everything. I'm above this. And I'm sure in his private moments, he's like, oh my God, what have I done? No, I'm awful. I think that also comes through in this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like there's a scene that I'm like, he must have practiced. Imagining him practicing this in the mirror to like learn his lines. Let me see. Let me find it. Who's scary now, freak? This is the literal line word for word. Him talking to himself in a mirror, and he wrote this, and he had to rehearse it. Who's scary now? Freak, freak boy, freaky circus boy, freak. Huh? Who's scary, freak? Who's weird now? Look at yourselves. We're all disgusting. Like, this is intense shit.
This is intense therapy that's happening in front of the fucking population, man.
You know
like
what this music video reminded me of, Abe? The act of killing. Because it's a setup that is recapitulating like a psychological exercise, which if you're familiar with that doc, that also is.
It's like pave over psychology, you know, just throw it under the rug, baby, and just keep everything going, keep the engines going.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you because there's a brief moment where. Related to what you were just talking about, where he asks after all the dust is kind of settled and he has become
Talk about
dust.
Sacrifice. He's like, you hurt my feelings. I will turn into dust and blow away.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
But when he returns as a human or whatever, I maybe this is MJ himself or this is the Maestro character. He asks the townspeople, sans mayor, did we have a good time here?
Do we have fun though?
And there's a moment that the edit of the movie plays that really harps on the reluctance of the townspeople agreeing to the fact that they had a good time here. Now, many times in the movie...
I just got to note a stat because I made a note of it and it supports what you're saying. You know, the whole thrust of the bulk of this is a classic. An entertainer performing music so good that it wins you over and you can't help but smile and dance. Right. We've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
It's 40 minutes long. The people in the crowd don't change from being scared to going like, oh, the rhythm is infecting me until 26 minutes in. They're genuinely scared most of the time. Like for the bulk of it, they're like, I don't know about this.
There's two like kids that we keep checking in on who are freaks from the get-go. But for the most part, that's true. But this moment is really interesting to me because there's one thing to just not have to have a lame duck response to something. Like the actors are not like giving you the thing you want. This is not that. This is the hive mind of the filmmakers, the editorial procedure that is trying to get you as the audience member to understand that the townspeople are reluctant to say, yes, we did, but then eventually do when they're kind of like coaxed into it by MJ. And that shows one of two things: either a kind of weird self-awareness that doesn't seem possible given all the other facts that are on the table that you just outlined, or two, pushback from, you know, Stan Winston and the group, the producing group that like made this happen, going like, we should at one point like separate ourselves from MJ maybe and say like, but it's a half measure. It's very strange that like whoever created the rest of this movie also created that moment where everything was leading to the townspeople cheering and saying huzzah, the, you know, ding dong, the mayor's dead kind of thing. But they don't even go that far.
Yeah.
And that's strange to me because like he could have, I guess that was like maybe too much for him or too much for the group, like the filmmakers, because that feels really strange to me that if you're denying everything outright, making an obvious metaphor, when you stick the landing and kind of have the movie has some form of reflexivity, they are kind of like, yeah, this is all kind of weird, isn't it? Yeah. Maybe that was the intention, but I just, that moment stuck out to me as a like strange kind of aberrant kind of moment amongst the rest.
Yeah, like when they walk up the walls and dance on the ceiling and he yells ho for a really long time and then he says, "Are you scared?" That's the other thing is the ghost danced. They didn't do spooky stuff. He did it first, but then they just did an 8-minute dance routine. So I would honestly be like, I don't know that I'm scared, but I'm not calm. I don't know what I feel. Yeah. Which also speaks to directing, right? And how you're composing a sensory experience, which leads to the question I wanted to ask you. Stan Winston, this is one of Stan Winston's only directing credits ever. How do you think he did as a director? I do think the troll and the mirror effect was awesome. Obviously, he was almost using this as a way to practice with CG. Like the CG skeleton, I'm sure he was like learning as he did that, or like excited to do it. But as effects aside, why do you think Stan Winston did this, and how do you think he performed?
I mean, answer's always money, right? Like this is a bunch of people in their prime. So they got together because they're like, all we have to do is assemble under the same lights and we're going to get so much money. Mm-hmm. As for his, like, I don't know, to me, I kind of agree with you. Like, Stan Winston is so good at like all the puppetry that he really, and he's been around with cameras and great directors for so long that like, even if just osmosis, he knows where to put camera to make it look great. He obviously doesn't give a fuck about things like character and, you know, like how the narrative really ends.
Consistent pacing. Yeah.
Or maybe he gives a fuck, but it's like not his prime attention.
Or he couldn't fight MJ.
Right.
You know.
And so that's not what he's in it for. And that's not what I think people are watching it for. So as far as director's kind of job, I think he did a good job. Like he did the thing he was supposed to do. And the reason he did it was probably because it was kind of a slam dunk, you know, kind of like MJ screaming after he does a song. It's like you do that after you do an impressive feat of humanity. So this is his slam dunk, I guess, I think. And it was an easy probably shoot. For the most part, you know, didn't have a lot of footage, didn't have a lot of scenes.
Yeah, except the practical on MJ, I bet was tough. That suit,
was
pretty
and
impressive.
That CG 1996 CG skeleton doing,
and the crumble to dust,
not terrible. No. Like I could tell that skeleton was MJ. Yeah, you know, like totally. I could tell that it was mimicking his form and his moves. That's impressive for that, you know, age. I mean, we had already had Jurassic Park, which had kind of fucked with that shit. But this is closer to like 1999's The Mummy, you know, where we have a full CG figure, you know, adversary in that movie, where it's like you see from head to toe a CG character. There is a short stint of just straight up, it's a skeleton moving. And that is probably the hardest thing for that at that time. Now you can probably just download a 3D model of a skeleton and give it to some boy on YouTube who's been doing visual effects since he was 16.
Animation
and he'll
boy.
have it ready for you. He'll have it ready for you in 3 days. But back in Stan Winston's times in 1996 of yore, that was probably the hardest part of this whole project.
Once he's convinced him at the end, one of the parents, when they're all, it's just a rabble of like, things are cool. This was fun, you know? One of the parents literally says a line that's clearly scripted. You ain't bothering nobody. You're just up here doing your thing. And I love he's like, that's what you should say. You should mind your own fucking business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yet, I do think it's interesting, as you noted, that the conflict is there and you don't know if Stan or Steven inserted that or Garrus, or if MJ is self-aware or does it subconsciously. But it's very notable that after that, when he says, did we have a good time? It's forceful, like I just did. It's mean, as if he is aware to some degree that people love him because they fear him and because he has money and power and fame.
He knows he's overbearing and that's just who he is, and he's not going to apologize.
That's
for
also
that,
baked in. He's like, yeah. Like, you should love God, but also fear God. He wants both, and I only use God because he uses the Christ imagery and shit.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me a lot of that Bo Burnham song where he's talking to the audience straight up and he's like, I love you and I hate you.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's this kind of relationship that obviously...
How dare you be my only source of validation, but also please keep it coming.
Please forgive me for something I didn't do, and also how I could never do that.
Yeah.
I could never do that. So it's the weird hypocrisy. And obviously everyone's got their own opinion on, you know, about Michael Jackson and sexual abuse of, you know, kids. But, you know, wherever everyone lands on that.
What's yours, Abe? Pro?
I haven't actually seen the documentary, so I don't have the influx. It is crazy to me that, like, with LaToya Jackson, who at one point was, you know, like, she was like, yeah, he's a pedophile when she was estranged from the family. And then in like 2009 came back and said, I'm so sorry I said those things. Mm-hmm. It all really smells like, you know, like this is our celebrities, our royalty, who can control everything. Mm-hmm. It does have those vibes.
Or to quote a lyric from this song Ghost in this, just because you said smell. This line just made me laugh. It doesn't mean anything, but he says, there's a ghostly smell around. A ghostly smell is around.
It's like dusty
ass weird concept.
Ghost farts. Yeah, what the fuck?
What smells like a ghost up in this?
Yeah, that's not the sense I would use when I'm like, the ghost. What's a
spooky Halloween lyric?
Legolas, what do your ghost ears smell?
What do your elf nose?
Some of your elf nose see. Yeah, it's like a very strange. I feel like he had so much control over the project, and it was so personal that no one said no.
They show one of the parents being physically abusive with their kid, as if to say, like, again, behind closed doors, like, normal families hit their kids and shit. Like, everyone abuses kids. You know, it's almost slipped in there.
So I can abuse kids. Yeah.
Or at least normalize it to myself in some way. Or at least, even if or at least do a savvy PR thing and try to deflect. Maybe that's all it was. Maybe it was consciously calculated.
Maybe it was, but it does definitely seem like narrative trying to be controlled by a very powerful group of PR people, and, you know, the estate of the Jackson estate, which was so, you know, thrived on its own image. So it had a lot to lose. You see these actions and you go, well, maybe we don't know the specifics, but something happened, I think, has to be.
And I don't know how you could lead such a trauma-filled, in its own way, life. And I just suspect, shit probably went down. And this that rationalization dynamic is in there explicitly. Like, I don't think we're even connecting dots in a way that's a stretch. Yeah. One of the lines is in Too Bad. The first song is everyone throwing rocks to hide their hands. You know, like, who are you to, you know, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Right. So literally saying, like, the whataboutism. Like that line is directly like, no, but what about you? You're also dirty. We're all dirty.
We're all dirty. Yeah. It's like, nah, you're not answering that. That's not a thing. That's just a straw man.
Can I throw some other lyrics at you since I looked them up and poured through them?
I love it.
Is It Scary includes, and I think this speaks to him being a chameleon and being able to transcend form. He can be dust. He can be bones. It doesn't matter. He's Michael Jackson. You know, I'm not black. I'm OJ. I'm going to be exactly what you want to see. Keep that Bo Burnham shit in mind. This is that shit. I'm going to be exactly what you want to see. It's you who's taunting me, but because you're wanting me to be the stranger in the night. Am I amusing you or confusing you? Am I the beast that you visualized? If you want to see eccentric oddities, I'll become grotesque before your eyes. Let it all materialize.
So it's become grotesque in front of your eyes.
Yeah, but it's because you made me this way.
Do this.
You made me this way. Which is
another.
In terms of
it's also
psychological dynamics.
Also, what I've heard, the pathology of an abuser. You know, like that. Yeah. It's So the spin cycle is full spin here.
Masquerade my heart. It's to hide a hurting soul. It's not what you seek of me. Can the heart reveal the proof? Like a mirror shows the truth. The evil one is you. That's what I referenced earlier. And then last, who gave you the right to scare my family? Who gave you the right to scare my baby? She needs me. Who gave you the right to shake my family tree? They put a knife in my back. They shot an arrow in me. I tell you, you're the ghost of jealousy, a sucking ghost of jealousy. So his lyrics are getting like on point. Like, they used to be like, I love my baby and we dance, and now like this whale should be free. These are obviously about what's going on with the case.
Yeah, and wow, that's interesting because some of those lyrics I'm not sure if misreading the subjects, but it like does feel like grammatically he could be talking about his own family stabbing him in the back and shooting arrows into him. You know, like there is a lot of things going on.
The news. It could be a lot of different things.
It's clear he's talking about the townspeople, aka the world, but
society.
There also might be something more of like I am victim here, which is ultimately I think the statement he wants to pronounce here is that he's trying to say, if you knew what was in my heart, I just, want to be a kid. I want to hang out with kids. I know how that's weird and I don't know how to rectify that.
Well, I'm saying it from his point of view, but I suspect thoughts along the line of like, truly, like I'm not hurting them because in my heart, I'm not mean. I'm nice when you don't understand. I'm nice when I do it. I've heard that as a common rationalization for this shit as well. Yeah,
exactly.
And then to lighten the mood, I just want to point out another good effect we glossed over. One of the dancers has a small like Quato from Total Recall, like a whole other man that comes out of his mouth. Pretty
mouth,
cool.
Yeah.
Cool effects. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea for a dancer. I mean, I wish we could all that was all the dancers, but obviously budget. Yeah.
Freaky boy. Did you hear what I said? Freaky boy. Freaky
it's
boy.
It's just wild.
I haven't heard, yeah. And the aesthetic is very like clumsy Edward Scissorhands or like cut rate, oingo boingo vibe. Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, I think that's all I really want to talk about.
Here's what's amazing about this, or what I found profound is that when we were deciding what's the next Kings of King, what's the next cock, Michael just emailed me out of the blue and he's just like, I see that we got one on plan for next month. I'm obsessed with this concept. And you have successfully, infected me with that obsession. Everyone go watch it. You can go watch it right now.
And as a historical artifact of someone trapped in a very unique life that is like, almost no one will live. And it's also symbolic of like Michael Jackson is what you get. Like, hey, Joker fans, this is what you get when society is structured this way. He's the one. Like, that's the output of that. Very interesting. I actually was worried about nostalgia factor because when I saw the beginning and the description, I just go to a big master list of shit Stephen King worked on, right? And then I just saw the word Michael Jackson. I was like, that's interesting. And then when I saw the screen caps, I remember that my dad showed it to me only because we watched all the Michael Jackson long form music videos, and my dad loves Stan Winston. Am I correct in thinking Stan Winston is old enough to have done, like, didn't he work on like Jason and the Argonauts and Wrath of the Gods and shit? Or Clash of the Titans?
No. I mean,
that's
he was
Ray
born
Harryhausen.
in like
Ray Harryhausen, sorry.
40s, right? Was when he was born.
No, I can correct. I'm sure it's Ray Harryhausen I'm thinking of. So Stan Winston, not the OG, but very good. Anyway, my point being, as it unfolded, I was very happy to find out that there's plenty to unpack in this movie, and it's interesting and worth your watch. And I don't think Michael Jackson's estate gets any money from it. If that's an issue for you, it's just a video floating around.
Yeah, and we're sorry, Steven, but, you know, like, people can watch this on Vimeo. We found a Vimeo link, so, you know, you don't have to, you can not pay Stephen King as well.
And I don't know what it makes me think about Stephen King that he chose to do it right in the midst of the allegations. I'll just choose to believe that he really earnestly thought it was not true, I guess.
It was the first one, and he was acquitted, so it did have this vibe.
Macaulay Culkin famously took the stand and swore. No, did not happen.
I think there was multiple stages. There was like another one in the 90s, another one in the 2000s, and so by the third time, people were kind of like, okay, something's up. And then obviously he dies in 2009.
He dies, more comes out, the victims come forward, they do an HBO special, and now I think most people think it probably happened.
Yeah. But, you know.
But did we have a good time here? Are you ready to rate this thing,
did we have a good time? Let's move on to the next segment where we place it on a list that is ever expanding. As this podcast goes into the pantheon of King. So let's talk about and make The Stand.
Time to make your stand.
Oh! Here we make our final stand. I believe we should probably start at the bottom.
Let's start at the bottom,
Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
I think people might be surprised to find that my number 24 remains Salem's Lot, the TV adaptation from 1979. Just as a little special burn from me, because I'm going to go ahead and spoil my 23 as Michael Jackson's Ghosts. Also because of the offensiveness of trying to gloss over your sexual assault charges has to be factored in. But I think Salem's Lot's boringness is even worse than that. Less forgivable.
I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah. And so at 24 and 23, I'm going to go Maximum Overdrive for reasons that
cocaine
I've gone
reasons.
into. So, and The Mangler for similar reasons. All four of these films that we've mentioned, you know, there they are.
Sure. Ghosts probably has the best craftsmanship of those films that we just mentioned, but I don't know what that means. Number 22 for me is Maximum Overdrive, as you just said.
I'm gonna go with Dreamcatcher.
Number 21, Green Mile, a well-made film that you'll have to listen to the episode to understand my take on.
Number 21, 1979, Salem's Lot, so that's where I'm coming.
Yeah, they all stink. Number 20, Dreamcatcher, also stinks. But now we're getting to the territory where stuff feels like a real movie, to me at least.
Number 20, I'm going to go with Thinner.
Very bad movie. Makes you feel gross in an unintended way.
I still think Thinner is worse than Michael Jackson's Ghosts.
Oh yeah, I forgot that that's in the running and it's still not dropped. My 19 is Children of the Corn. Just boring. Not as boring as Salem's Lot, but just boring.
I'm going to go Dark Tower.
Very, very bad. Rates significantly higher on mine because of my soft spot for the material itself. 18, Desperation. Not boring, but like trite. Like it ends with a Stephen King analog bravely sacrificing himself to save the day. I'm not on board for that shit.
What number are we on? We're on
18.
19? 18, The Dead Zone.
Also boring. 17, The Mangler. Not boring. Worth watching in my opinion. Just bad.
17, 1990s It. Oh my God, that thing is boring.
Yeah, 16, the It TV series. Way boring and overrated, which dropped it a couple notches for me. Because I'm like, everyone needs to stop sucking this thing's dick. It's not good.
I mean, it's got one great performance, but man, oh man, does it slog.
15, Dead Zone.
15, I thought we skipped maybe the 16.
Yeah.
Children of the Corn, but my 15 is Pet Sematary.
Children of the Corn, the Little Cock. I should not have said that. What was your 15?
Pet Sematary, the 2019, last episode.
14's thinner for me. It's real bad. Wait, last episode. So you think Michael Jackson's Ghost is better than Pet Sematary? It wasn't good, but that surprises me. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your 14?
Christine.
That's the car. Yeah, the haunted car. And it's coming up quick for me. Similar. 13, Running Man. Too cheesy for me. I don't like movies like that.
13, Desperation.
Okay, but I get people liking Running Man for the record. 12, Christine, car. Haunted car.
12, Creep Show. I love parts of it.
It's not better than Creep Show, dude.
What do you mean?
Whatever. You can do your list however you want, but you better have a reason. Number 11, Apt Pupil for me, the Nazi rapist movie.
Yeah, I'm going to go Green Mile for 11.
Yeah, sure. I would say equally offensive films in some ways. Number 10, Dark Tower. It was clumsy, but whatever. I like it for stupid reasons. Go ahead. Obviously, we're both allowed to have stupid reasons because you haven't dropped Ghosts yet.
I still think at number 10, Apt Pupil, the Nazi one.
Yeah. Well, if the Bryan Singer complaint that's valid.
It's worse than Michael Jackson's Ghost.
But wait, he's also has sexual assault allegations. Anyway, my 9 is Pet Sematary, which I thought was all right.
My 9 is 1408, which is actually, now we're getting into the good stuff.
I guess. I think so, but I don't know what game you're playing. Number 8 is Creep Show, which is good and fun to me.
Mm-hmm. Number 8's The Running Man for me. Maybe just for nostalgia. Still.
Hey, number 7 is 1408, which goes really hard. If you like John Cusack just getting his ass handed to him, I think that's really fun.
And this is where I had to really start to dig deep, because I had to ask myself, what's better, Michael Jackson's Ghosts or Brian De Palma's Carrie?
Yeah.
And at 7, I'm gonna go Carrie.
I weirdly went the other way. Now I'm questioning it, but my number 6 is Brian De Palma's Carrie, a thoughtful and I would say important seminal horror movie from the point of view of an abused girl protagonist, big for the time, going through like domestic violence, interesting topic for the time. Better than Ghosts, I might venture. What's your number 6? Ghosts?
My number 6 is, and this is one that really... Now we're really getting in the same zone, because now we have to ask ourselves, what is Stephen King doing? He's there to terrify you. So I had to ask myself, what's more terrifying, Michael Jackson's Ghosts or The Mist? And that haunting fucking ending, you know? At number 6, I'm going to put The Mist.
It's like I'm watching you shoot my children in the head. Number 5 is The Mist, sir. Number 5. And the only reason I'll give you that is there is scary things in Ghosts. I guess if you're thinking of the giant Michael Jackson head in the doorway, whoa, that is pretty scary. What's your number 5?
Dr. Sleep.
Fuck you, sir. Number 4 is you better not. Number 4, Misery. Kathy Bates.
Number 4, I agree. Misery is so good. That's why I put it at number 4 as well.
Oh, so we're agreed. We're agreed about the last 3 because we've always been in lockstep on our top 3, I believe. Other than my penchant for Dr. Sleep, but I mean as a grouping. Here we go, real rapid fire. Number 3, Stand By Me, great film. We're talking about important films now. The implying Ghost is better than... Okay, number 2, Dr. Sleep. I really enjoy it, and I think it's wildly underrated for reasons I went into.
And this is where you probably are... You're like, okay, now I see what you were doing.
Right.
Yeah, because like when you think about Stephen King, there's 2 movies. There's Michael Jackson's Ghost and The Shining. And that's why I put The Shining at number 2.
No! My number 1 is The Shining. No!
And that means number 1, according to Abe Epperson, on this green earth, the best Stephen King story is Michael Jackson's Ghost. That's right, people. And that's there forever now. Because this is a podcast. And we did it 1 episode, so it's now true for all the episodes.
Forever, you fucker. All right.
No. And the reason is because it's the scariest.
It's the spookiest.
It made me terrified.
And I guess it's time for us to make like ghosts and leave a Looney Tunes style outline of our bodies in the wall as we run away. But if you want to hear other bonus Small Beans podcasts, please check us out over at patreon.com/smallbeans. You literally get double the content, including some exclusive shows that are only behind the paywall, like Spiel Boys and Star Trek The Next Futurama, to mention the ones that we host. And there's other ones over there.
Yeah, indeed. And on the docket, we have coming soon another Pick the Flick for Frame Rate, which if you don't know, if you go to our patreon.com/smallbeans link, you can pledge at the tier of Pick the Flick, which means you get to decide what movies we talk about. Now, it isn't for this series, Kings of King, but it is for any movie because it's for Frame Rate. And we also got more episodes of Director Piece Theater, including Adam and I, Adam Ganzer, our good buddy. And yeah, we have a lot of things in the pipeline, including our movie. So come follow us there at patreon.com/smallbeans to see what we're up to, because we're always up to no good.
That's right. We're also making a feature film, which most podcast networks are not. Maybe all. We might be one of the only ones. So there will be along the line some updates about that process, which we hope you'll find fascinating. Then we're trying to be very transparent about that our patrons will be privy to. So if that interests you, also head to patreon.com/smallbeans.
This has been a Small Beans endeavor. We're a bunch of pals who make podcasts, sketches, music, web series, and movies. The beans always have new ideas percolating, so make sure to check us out at patreon.com/smallbeans. That's patreon.com/smallbeans, where you can browse all of our current and past content, see what we've got planned in the future, and learn how your support can help the small beans grow into huge, giant monster beans. If you enjoyed this content module, please like, rate, subscribe, or tell a friend about us. We love you.